Let's take a closer look now at the role the international community plays when tense situations build up like what we are seeing play out in Ukraine. For that, I had a special guest weigh in earlier. I spoke with actor, producer, screenwriter, and martial arts expert Steven Seagal. He was recently part of an American delegation that visited Russia in the aftermath of the Boston Marathon bombings, and he gave us his view on the crisis in Ukraine.
Well, I mean, it's exactly the kind of thing that we, meaning myself and several members of Congress and millions of other people, have been trying to avoid. I hear a lot of political rhetoric. I hear a lot of political spinning. And I'm not in America hearing anything from the Russians at all. And that's not because they're not giving comments. I think that they're just not being heard. For example, I heard, early this morning somebody saying, yeah, somebody came on to a vessel in the Black Sea and, threatened them and said, by 5 o'clock surrender, we're going to come and invade. I knew right away that that never happened. And then sure enough, in the last hour, they're saying, oh, yeah, well, that may not have happened. And so all this kind of stuff is not constructive to real diplomatic relations. And that's what we need here. We need calm. We need people who can kind of try to look at the big picture and what's best for Ukraine, what's best for Russia, and not necessarily what's best for quote-unquote Europe. The thing that I think we have to really keep in mind here is that recently when Ukraine was sort of quote-unquote overthrown, you have to keep in mind it was a democratically voted on, put in. It was a government that was put in through normal diplomatic channels, through voting and so forth and so on. And then all of a sudden, it looks to me like sort of thugs with firebombs start firebombing the whole city, and who these people are and where they came from is really a questionable subject. And then all of a sudden, this government is toppled. I certainly think that, that there is the point of why couldn't they have, sort of used proper diplomatic means to change the government, which is what we always hope for. And, so I just think it's very, very interesting that there's all this kind of funny stuff happened right before the Olympics,
So why do you think the U.S. is so interested in this part of the world, and what does it stand to gain from getting involved?
I mean, in my opinion, this is it's European Union. It's pressure that certain entities are getting from the European Union or stuff like that. I mean, it's kind of like, if you'll hearken back or go do your homework, you'll see that Margaret Thatcher was, pretty much thrown out of office because she refused, to sort of put, the EU in, European in. And so, I think there's a little bit of that going on here.
Do you think the media is playing a role in ramping up tensions between countries?
I do. Well, yes, I do. I think, the example I just gave a minute ago is a perfect example. There's, I'll give you another example. On supposedly, quote-unquote, respectable news channels, they keep saying, just like when Russia attacked Georgia. Really? How about telling the truth? Didn't Georgia attack Russia? And didn't Russia retaliate? Isn't that the truth? Maybe people should either do their homework or stop just, saying what they're told to say.
So when you hear one American politician after another making the media rounds patronizing President Obama and calling his foreign policy stance weak because he is not calling on the troops or anything like that, do you think that they are trying to hold his feet to the fire and to force him to act?
I think this is a very dangerous stance to take, and it's a very dangerous game to play. Nobody should be criticizing Obama for not taking military action. Are they crazy? I mean, at this point, what we really want are cool heads and diplomatic dialogue. We should be at the height of diplomatic diplomacy right now, where we are, you know, talking to Russia and talking to Ukraine and trying to see if we can come up with a solution that's good for everybody. That's what we should really be trying to do.
That was actor Seagal.